The story of Shenmue is a long tale full of revenge, betrayal, and love, and simply reading a short synopsis of it was never going to do it any justice. The current era of holding hands of the player to lead them to the next objective is something that anyone coming into Shenmue is going to just struggle with, as Shenmue demands you to pay attention to the content on the screen and then use the knowledge that you're presented with to your advantage to progress further in the story. Shenmue has left a legacy that has since inspired many of the open world design in current generation games. Although taken as a whole, Shenmue honestly has not aged that well, mostly due to the nature of its controls and progression system that is completely different from most modern games. The games aren't a proper remaster, meaning you're not going to get full and flawless graphics from the ground up in the scale or the sense of Yakuza Kiwami or Kiwami 2. And you're definitely not going to be getting the audio quality that you'd expect from a remaster. Now, the storyline itself still holds up pretty well, with you playing as series star Ryu Hazuki, exploring Japan, collecting clues from the neighborhood, and delving deep into the Chinese crime syndicate of the city to avenge the murder of your father. The first Shenmue follows Ryo Hazuki, a young man who bears witness to his father's murder at the hands of the villainous Lan Di. For unknown reasons, Lan Di wants the Dragon Mirror and the Phoenix Mirror, two ancient antiques that the Hazuki family owns. Full of raging questions, Ryo sets out to avenge his father and learn about Lan Di and the mirrors. It was truly an ambitious story for a video game at the time, and one that still holds up as an enthralling mystery, right up to the open-ended finale. Now, Shenmue 2 begins shortly after Shenmue's climax, as Ryo reaches the shores of Hong Kong, having finally made it to China. Ryo continues his quest for vengeance in an unfamiliar and often dangerous new country. Along the way, Ryo finds an ally in the mysterious Shenhua, a young woman who Ryo saw in his dreams as far back as the first Shenmue. It's a worthy continuation of Shenmue, as it takes the original game's cinematic ambitions and pushes them even further. Also, with the knowledge that Shenmue 3 is on the way, it's far less bittersweet to reach the end of Shenmue 2. Both stories, though different in scope and in tone, still feel as robust and thrilling today as they were when they were originally released. And right off the bat, it's easy to see that both games look leagues better than the original titles. Character models are refined and clear, while landscapes are crisper and more defined. Lens flare and water in Shenmue 2 appear as if they were taken from a last-gen title, which is saying something for a game that's old enough to graduate high school. Now, for new players, the world is stunning, not because of its graphics, but because of how rich and communicative it is. You can interact with any character, even kittens and dogs that are around. You can use vending machines, visit the arcades, and play fully functioning mini-games, get a job, and much, much more. You can have the English dubbing of the originals, unless you play Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast, which only had Japanese voice acting, or Japanese voice work, which the latter is something that you should definitely go with to keep the experience authentic. Not just because I find the acting better, but it just, as a whole, from an aesthetic standpoint, especially if you're coming from Yakuza, it just flows a lot better than the stilted English acting. Now, when it comes to controls, they will take some time to get used to since they're rather dated. The first Shenmue is the biggest offender, and it results in a frustrating experience because you have to talk to a lot of people in the game, and the way the Ryu controls makes it hard to do even the most simple tasks. Adding to this is the combat system, which lacks strategy and feels more like button mashing at best. There will be plenty of quick time events as well, but I find them fun for the most part. I think they integrate well into the gameplay, hence why they don't feel like tacked on like most other games. However, the fighting system is just as deep as it's ever been. From throws to evasions to heavy punches and light kicks, brawling in both the most fluid and completely responsive ways basically once you learn its small quirks. Throwing can be a bit difficult since getting close to your opponent isn't easy, but it does make sense since throwing is one of your most powerful attacks. But do be sure to train too, since many attacks require multiple inputs that can get a little overwhelming in the midst of battle, especially if you haven't spent the time understanding them and leveling them up. As said before, there is no map in the game that will guide you to where to go next, and instead you just have to talk to others to get new information from them. A lot of the dialogue will get reused, so be ready to hear plenty of repeated phrases if you listen to this in English or if you understand Japanese, as you attempt to figure out where to go next. You will also do odd jobs around the town to help get some money, and that will also be a need for some of the story missions. Now, Ryo will keep a notebook to keep track of every conversation or hints that he makes in the game, and it basically is kind of like your heads up of where you need to go to find out your goals. Now, Shenmue 1 and 2 HD is a definitive collection of two very dated yet memorable classics. The antiquated controls and presentation of both games will likely make them difficult to get into for a lot of the modern audiences, but the epic story and wonderful characters more than make up for it. So, as aged as they may be, anyone who gives Shenmue a chance could easily find themselves loving the series in the same way that myself and countless others already do. Shenmue 1 and 2 HD is Kasanova approved.